Hi, welcome to Educational Psychology class. I am so excited to meet you. I'm so excited to share these principles and theories of educational psychology with you. Because teachers like you face a number of difficult and sometimes unexpected challenges every day on the job. And you are required to respond quickly and appropriately. The good news is that educational psychology provides some answers to many of these challenges that you encounter, and I'm hoping at the ending of this course and our interaction together, you would be well versed in a number of areas and be able to share with others. So let's start our discussion with what do we consider as qualities of a good, effective teacher? I invite you to make a list of the qualities of your favorite teacher from primary school. What can you remember? And pause the video and come up with a list about 10, 10 top things that you can remember of this teacher and his or her impact on your life. See you in a few minutes. Okay, so welcome back. We, when we look at your list, we can seek to categorize your list into two major areas. We can look at qualities that are innate to the individual, and we can look at qualities that are based upon scientific research, that is based upon educational theories and psychological principles. And that will be considered the artistic and the scientific nature of teaching. And we are recognizing that effective teaching is that dynamic interaction that relies on these both areas. Teaching as a science will involve making instructional and behavior management decisions based upon validated research findings. Oftentimes, in special education, especially in special education, teachers are required to use interventions that are evidence based, and that relates now to the scientific nature of teaching. However, it is very difficult to stay in a rigid approach to the nature of teaching because it's a human interaction, and hence teaching is also considered an art where teachers are to design their own teaching philosophy and combine their gifts and talents with what they would have learned about these various strategies and decide which would work best for them in the particular situation that they are dealing with. And the decision making around the artistic nature of teaching will be based upon the teacher's motives, their beliefs, their values, and their ability to be flexible based upon the situation in front of them. So we are recognizing that while it might be difficult to pinpoint exactly how do we produce an effective teacher in schools of education at various universities, we are able to pinpoint definite characteristics which makes a big difference in the lives of our students. And educational psychology seek to answer these questions. It is a scientific discipline, so meaning that it relies on research findings that have been based on the scientific method. There is sampling, there is objective, there is objective observation made, and these findings are then recorded, published, and can be replicated. It seeks to study what takes place within the teaching learning environments in our formal settings and seek to improve these methodologies. So we may ask ourselves, why would psychology be important to our educational practice? And in order to discuss this, let us clarify a few of the terms that we often use within the education system and then make that connection to educational psychology. So let us start off with education. What do you think education is? Yes, take some time and think about it, all right? And we're recognizing that according to UIT 2011, that education has both an individual developmental function and a social cultural function. Let us look at the social cultural. In this definition, we're saying here that education is a process by which societies transmits to new members the values, beliefs, knowledge, and symbolic expressions to make communication possible within the society. You want society to continue and you want individuals to be able to contribute to the society and not necessarily just glean from it. In the individual developmental function, it views education as developing the person, developing the potential of the individual so that they can be successful within that particular society. In the social cultural definition, we recognize that it seeks to make society better by educating the individual. Whereas in the individual developmental function, it ensures that the individual can be successful within the said society. Now, how do we get this done? A big part of that relates to the process of teaching, that formal interaction that occurs within the teacher and the student. And so it's a purposeful direction and management of the learning process. And what is learning? Oftentimes it is viewed as a permanent change in an individual's behavior or the capability of the individual to change their behavior based upon a particular experience or based upon an internal change that would have occurred within the individual. So what is that connection now with school? School has been set up as the formal place where this teaching and learning can occur. How do we get this process organized? What are the factors that should be included in this teaching learning process? What should happen at school? And the answers come from the study of the learning. The answers come from the research into how do people, why do people behave the way that they behave? What happens in the mind when individuals learn? And where can we get that information? We get this information from psychology, which is a scientific study of the mind and behavior, or the mental processes that occur within an individual mind. We therefore recognize that we have a field of study which studies how learning takes place and how we could change the behavior. Therefore, we would want to apply this information to the learning environment and what happens at school. And why would that be important? Because teaching is a very complex enterprise and it requires individuals to have a broad knowledge base in order to make effective decisions. Educational psychology gives educators the information that they need in order to make these critical decisions that will come now and influence person's learning. Furthermore, educational psychology seeks to enhance the competence of teachers because it provides them with the key, it provides them with the answers to address specific students' learning and behavioral needs. When you go to the doctor, do you want the doctor still experimenting on what medicine should work for you? Or would you want him to rely on what has already been proven to work for your particular problem? And the same thing with the teaching profession. You want to be able to rely on strategies that have shown that these things are effective in the learning process. But also, therefore, when we use these studies, we are able to increase the performance of the students because we expect them to learn under these conditions that have been proven to work effectively. However, how we get that done would rely on the artistic nature of, of teaching. So let's recap what we've done so far. We have looked at the qualities of an effective teacher and we sought to relate that to whether it falls under the artistic or the scientific nature of teaching. We looked at various definitions within education and tried to explain the connection between psychology and educational practice. Educational psychology is a very broad field of study which also has various branches. As it relates to special education, the field of school psychology goes even deeper into what happens with students with special needs and what strategies and techniques can be utilized. I thank you for being part of this first session and any questions that you have, feel free to send a response, to send your questions via the question answer forum or via email. Just before we go though, I wanted to think about this. Jesus was often referred to as a teacher while he was here on earth. Can you think of some of the qualities that he would have emulated, that he would have demonstrated? And which of these qualities can you emulate as a teacher? Have a good one. Bye bye.